hmm Hey, hey, hey. How are you guys doing out there? Let me see. I'm only going to wait about um, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then I'll start talking, and then you guys can ask your questions as you guys can ask your questions as they come to you. So I have a different setup today, and so I'm going to be watching your comments over here. But first, so let me say, thank you for joining. I appreciate you trusting me with this time to speak into your life and really to kind of help you facilitate better relationships. Right. After the webinar on Wednesday, there were a lot of questions, and so I said, well, let me just do another um, live so that I can answer these questions because I'm sure there are questions that a lot of people may have. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask your questions to me live and us interact this way on YouTube. So, um, whenever you guys are ready, um, but I'll start with this until I see the questions come in. So, on Wednesday, we talked about love. We talked about what love is, what it looks like. There's some things that I didn't share in my notes as I went back over my notes, some things that I really wanted to mention um, about love, and I plan on like sharing a little bit of that today. But the main thing, probably the main thing about love, is that love is not about you. Okay, love is about the person that you're loving. Love is the thing that we humans need. We thrive on it, but it is also the thing that we fail at the most. All right, my philosophy that I've kind of stolen from my pastor, Pastor Jeremy, uh, is if you learn it wrong, you'll live it wrong. Okay. And most of us, when we are coming up, we learned the wrong things about love. And so my goal is to help you see love clearly so that number one, you could recognize it. And then number two, you can know what you deserve. And then number three, uh, you can become a better lover. That's the ultimate goal, to be a better lover slash better giver, right? Because love is about giving. Love is not about you receiving, right? Giving is what love is about. You need to receive it, that is true. But like I said in the webinar on Wednesday, when your primary focus is on receiving love as opposed to giving love, you're probably going to injure the person that you are in a relationship with. And so I want to help you be a better giver of love and be able to recognize love so that you'll know when you're receiving it. Um, and let me go. Let's see. No questions yet. So this is my first time doing a YouTube live and question and answer. So I did not prepare anything specifically to talk to you guys about. Right, but I can always talk because love and relationships is what I do. Really wanted to just provide a service for you to kind of, like I say, help you do what you're trying to do it better, right? So here's something I did not talk about extensively in the webinar on Wednesday, and that is the opposite of what love is. And people tend to think that the opposite of love is hate. That is not true, right? Hate is simply a strong emotion, a strong dislike. Hate in and of itself is not bad. It's just a strong emotion. But the opposite of love is actually fear. And fear's evil twin is pride, right? At the root of every divorce, there's pride. 100% of divorces, there's pride in there somewhere. But fear is the opposite of love. And so what that means is if you're walking in fear, you will not walk in love. But it also means that if you're walking in love, then you won't walk in fear. Mhm. So here's an example that I shared earlier with someone. So fear, let's relate fear to darkness, and we relate love to light, right? So there was a time when I was working on my book, and I was in my office, and I see your question, um, B. So uh, what are the rules to me time? I'm coming to you. So I was working on my book, but then I got tired, so I wanted to take a nap. So I went from the room that I was writing in into my other office, and that office it has a window, and it was daytime, but I wanted it to be dark, so I closed the door, but the door wasn't closed all the way, uh, and so I determined that it was not dark enough in the room. So as I was laying there, I looked over towards the door where the other room is, where there is no window, and it's pitch black dark in there. For a moment, I had the thought, wouldn't it be cool if I can open the door wider so that darkness could come in? And in that moment, here's what I realized. Darkness can never overcome light. There's no struggle between light and darkness. There's never a struggle between light and darkness. The only way that darkness can overcome light is if light gives up. So the reason that came to me was because in the part of the book that I was writing about love, and I was talking about the silent destroyers, which so termites are called the silent destroyers, right? So in your home, uh, termites will destroy your home. So termites cause over $5 billion worth of worth of damage a year. Yep, that's billions with a B. 5 billion. And termites, the thing that there are a lot of ways to get rid of termites, but the thing that stuck out to me the most is sunlight. Termites thrive in darkness. They say by the time you see termites, it's too late. And so if you have termites, it means that there's not enough light coming into your home, right? Not enough sunlight. Well, in the same way, when it comes to marriage and love and relationships, there's termites of the relationship. I call them pride and fear, fear and pride. So, my conclusion then is this: if love is the light in your relationship, as long as you're loving, fear and pride cannot overcome you. If there's fear and pride in your relationship, then it means you're not loving. That's it. Because if you're loving, fear and pride cannot exist. The darkness cannot overcome the light. The light has to give up. So, in order for fear and pride to take residence in your relationship and in your marriage, you have to decide to stop loving, and it is a decision. So, that's something that I did not share Wednesday. I wanted to share that with you today. So, let me get to this first question. Who is a good person to rant to if your spouse isn't ready to talk, but it's too much to take? Who is a good person? Um, well, so one thing, someone who is neutral, let me tell you who not to run to: family members. Why? Because they are naturally biased. They may love your mate or your spouse, and they may say they love them as much as they love you, but I wouldn't trust it. Okay. So don't run to family members. Don't run to your friends. Like, you guys may have separate friends, but you should have friends of the marriage. But even with friends of the marriage, you need to only trust people who are doing better than you. And this is my opinion, better than you to talk to or vent to, right? Uh, and let me say this too. I believe you can have a best friend to vent to, but your best friend is only your best friend because he or she is a friend of the marriage, not just your best friend. So they're going to actually share with you wisdom and not just their opinion based on what makes you, feel good or whatever. So, um, it is if you don't have anyone to talk to or to vent to, that can be a struggle. That can be a problem. And so you want to develop. That's why it's good to have couple friends that you can grow with, right? Someone who understands the struggle that you're in, and so they're not going to take sides because they understand that life and marriage is not always what it seems. So make sure that you are choosing people who are trustworthy, people who will not betray your confidence, people who are not going to be biased. And then, even with that, be careful of what you share about your mate to someone else, right? You don't have to give them all the dirty details. Primarily, you talk about how you feel, talk about what you're dealing with. Don't ever put your mate down to someone else. Well, don't put your mate down, period, but definitely not to someone else. It's not productive. And the thing about it, when you do that, you are in essence elevating yourself above the relationship. It's not something that you want to do because you're going to injure the person with whom you're in the relationship, which means you injure the relationship. Okay. So, what are the rules to me time? I'm guessing that question is connected to the first question. I don't know if there are rules to me time. You need it. You got to have me time. I believe that you do need time apart. I do believe that you need time to just spend time with yourself. But there has to be a time of coming together. Now, if it is connected to the question you're talking about as far as like in conflict, how much time does a person need to cool down or whatever? There's no set amount of time, but I would say you can't, go 3, 4 days in silence, not talking to each other because somebody's still processing. That's unfair, right? You're not in a relationship with yourself. You're in a relationship with a whole nother person who is different from you. So be considerate. Take your time to process stuff, but also, I would say longer than an hour, you start to get into the danger zone, right? So you want to. So I say 30 minutes to an hour. Take a break. That's so you can calm down, not so that you can work everything out, because there's a danger in trying to work everything out in your mind without your partner when it's your partner the one that you have the conflict with, because you're going to make up things that's not true. And so that's not some you don't want to do that. So that 30 minutes to an hour is so that you can calm down, get your emotions calm, so that you can re-engage and continue to have the conversation. Not necessarily so you can work it all out in your mind and then come to them and say, "Hey, I'm fine." You probably won't be fine by yourself. You guys need to work it out. And that's something that couples don't uh, focus on a lot. Conflict resolution skills, they're necessary, right? You got to be able to resolve conflict. The thing that destroys, and I'm going to say marriage, but it's all relationships. The thing that destroys marriage is not what happens in the marriage, it's how you handle what happens in the marriage. It's not what happens, it's how you handle it. And so you got to be mindful of your ability or your inability to resolve conflict, because that can make or break your marriage or your relationship. Um, let's see. Do I have. Here's another question. Let's see. Can I raise this up? I'm trying to. Let's see. Take your time to process is good, but make sure you announce why you are leaving and when you plan to return. That's good. That is absolutely true. Um, and so what Daphne said is 100% accurate. Don't just storm off and assume that they know. Well, they know I need time. This is what I do. No, no, no. Because you're in a relationship and because you're an adult and you want to be responsible for your part, tell them, hey, I need a break. Um, and I'll be back in 30 minutes. or 45 minutes. Like give me some time to process this. And and then if you're the one taking the break, you be the one to come back to them. Don't make them come find you. That's just courtesy, right? Don't make them come find you. You go back to them, say, okay, are you ready to finish the discussion? Because I'm better now. So yes, definitely set a time and communicate. It, particularly, this is for both parties, but particularly for men, we have a habit of shutting down and leaving. And a lot of times that will trigger for women something on the inside that, hey, you're abandoning me or you're leaving me. You're always running away. So when you communicate that I'm not running away, say something like this: I love you. I'm upset right now. This I need a break. It doesn't mean that like we're in trouble or it doesn't mean I'm leaving, but I need to take a break before we continue because I'm getting too upset. And I promise I'll be back in 30 minutes, 45 minutes or whatever. But yes, definitely do communicate the fact that you are leaving, but you will be back, and give a time and then stick to the time. That was good. Um, let's see. Any other questions? So I'm gonna just keep talking about love until I know you guys got questions, but hey, it's all good. And I don't plan on being on here long, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity to um, get some of your questions answered. And here's something that I can do. I can ask some of the questions that came up in the session, um, but I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask this question that Miss Daphne just asked. Uh, can you give your definition of love again? Yes. So here's my definition of love. Love is. Wait a minute. Did I memorize it? I don't think I did. Let me get my notes because I want to make sure I say it accurately. Because I can say it how it's in my mind, and I know what I'm talking about, but I want to make sure that I'm effective for what I give you. So get my iPad and give you my definition of love, and then we can talk about it. Okay. So here we go. Here's a working definition of love. Love is a commitment to selfless, often sacrificial action. That's important. Love is a commitment to selfish and often sacrificial action towards someone else for their benefit, and it is not contingent upon how you feel. Did that make sense? I'm going to say it again. Love is a commitment to selfless, often sacrificial action towards someone else for their benefit, and it is not contingent upon how you feel. So, what that means is love is not a feeling, love is an action. Love is a choice, it's a free will choice. As a matter of fact, if love is not a free will choice, then it's not love. You cannot control someone into loving you. You cannot punish someone into loving you. If someone won't love you, you have to let them not love you, and then you make decisions based on what you're receiving from them, right? But the main thing I want you to get: love is not a feeling, love is an action. Now, that does not mean that love is devoid of feelings, okay? So you feel an affection for a person, and then you decide, I'm going to love you. But if you have the feelings and don't do the action, it's not love yet. It's not love until, like Commission said, until you give it away, right? You've got to give your love away. And so that's important because we get caught up on the feeling part. And most of the time, when we say, I love you, what we really mean is, I love the way you make me feel. But the words, I love you, is really communicating, I'm making a choice to commit to loving you. But when we say it, what we usually mean is, I love the way you make me feel, which then means If you stop making me feel good, or if I stop feeling a certain way, then I start to feel like the love has died, or you don't love me anymore. And that is why we stay on this roller coaster of emotions, thinking that love is in and out. What I told the people on Wednesday is that love does not fade. Love does not fade. If love has disappeared from your relationship, someone made a choice to stop loving. It does not fade because it's not a feeling. And aren't you glad that love isn't a feeling? Because if love was feelings, you'd be in and out of love all day, every day, because your feelings can change at the drop of a dime. The weather can change how you feel. Somebody can cut you off and change how you feel. And so, if your love is contingent upon how you feel, you're going to be in major trouble. Let's see. Um, let's read this one. How can you help your spouse or yourself comprehend an issue? Uh, I can't fully see it because I have too many screens in the way. Give me a second. There we go. How can you help your spouse or yourself comprehend an issue if the communication part has been done? I'm not sure what you're saying. How can you help your partner? How can you help your spouse or yourself comprehend an issue if the communication part has been done? Meaning, if you've already talked and they don't get it, how do you help them get it? Well, so you cannot control what someone else understands. Your job is to be an effective communicator. But there are other factors that can become barriers to whether or not they understand what you're saying. A lot of factors. But as much as it depends on you, be an effective communicator, right? Be clear in what you're saying. Talk about me, use I statements, not you statements. This makes me feel this way, not you did this, you know. You didn't put the toilet seat down versus I feel disrespected when you don't put the toilet seat down. You see, those are two different statements. One elicits a defense, and the other hopefully elicits the hearing ear. And which, let me give you this side note: anytime you're talking to your mate and they start defending themselves, it is because they feel attacked. Now, that doesn't mean that you are attacking them, and it doesn't mean that you said something wrong necessarily. But it does mean whatever you're giving, it feels like an attack because no one defends themselves for no reason. Right? If I'm sitting here now, if I just start defending myself and like moving all crazy, you would think I'm crazy. Why? Because no one's attacking me. And in the same way, in a conversation, if your spouse or mate or whatever starts defending themselves, they feel attacked. So then that's a cue for you to slow down, pull back, and maybe examine, hey, what did I say that felt like an attack? Or if you know that you're attacking, shift and change. Apologize. Hey, I apologize that sounded like I was attacking you. I meant to say it this way. You can always come back and restate what you were trying to say and say it better. We're humans. We mess up. Um, so that's what you is okay. Good. That's what you meant. But yeah, when it comes to communication, communication is a huge part of. Um, so John Gottman says that we misunderstand each other over 90% of the time when we're talking as humans. That's a lot. Do you know you would have never graduated if you failed 90% of your classes? If you did not get 90% of your check, if you only got 10% of your check, you would be homeless. Side note, God only requires 10%, but that's a different topic. But we misunderstand each other 90% of the time. So then what that means is don't be surprised when they don't understand you, number one. But number two, uh, you gotta be you gotta work hard at being an effective communicator, trying not to primarily communicate with emotions, but communicate in a way so the other person can understand you. Again, there are a bunch of barriers, a lot of barriers to effective communication. One of them is, saying things that sound attacking. Another one is saying things that you don't mean or speaking out of anger. It's dangerous to have um, it's dangerous to have important um, conversations when emotions are really high. And when I say emotions really high, I'm really talking about anger and you're offended and frustration, because you're more likely to say something you don't mean, and you're less likely to hear what they're actually saying. Okay. So when it gets to that point, that's when it's time to take a break. Say, hey, let's pause for a second and we'll come back to what we're trying to talk about. Okay. Uh, is there a healthy way to overcome conflict? I hope so. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the only way to overcome conflict is in a healthy way. If you don't do it in a healthy way, you don't overcome it. You may move past it, but it's not resolved. Conflict that is no longer on the table does not mean that it is resolved. No, it still may be unresolved. So, um, effective communication is, effective conflict resolution is crucial to the health of your relationship. See, here's the thing: conflict is necessary. Avoiding conflict is dangerous. You're not supposed to avoid conflict, because you can't have two imperfect people interacting with each other and there not be conflict. Conflict is the thing that grows your relationship. Here's why: we come together, we bump heads, we have conflict. When we resolve that, we understand each other better, and that means we grow deeper, because the better you know someone, the deeper your love can be for them. So, yes, there's absolutely a healthy way to overcome conflict, and that's the only way to overcome conflict. Let's see. How do you handle when someone is upset with your words at the moment? That's too vague to, I guess, to give a. Well, let's see if this is connected. Then they say so many things that cause more damage. I'm leaving. You don't need to stay with me. You're here for the money. You can keep the money. Okay, so now let me go back to the top. How do you handle it when someone is upset with your words at the moment? Well, again, you can't control um, how someone interprets what you're saying. But if you notice that they're not receiving what you're saying, don't just keep talking, right? You want to stop and examine the reason why they're not hearing you. But understand, there's a lot of layers to this whole communication slash conflict resolution thing, because you both bring things with you to the relationship and to the conflict that may be preventing you from hearing and seeing what the other person is saying. Okay. So, but I'm going to talk to you. As much as it depends on you, you be an effective communicator. If they take it wrong, you can't stop that, but you can investigate to see where they made a turn where you wasn't intending to turn, right? You can see what they heard that you didn't say, so that you can try to correct it. And I'm gonna make sure. How do you, when someone is upset with your words? Yeah. So here's a uh, something that's really, I believe, detrimental to relationships a lot of time. You not speaking the truth because of how someone is going to receive it, right? And that's a lot of times why people avoid conflict, because the other person, they can't handle conflict well, or they can't handle the truth, so you just don't share it. No, you have to be authentic. You have to share the truth regardless. Just make sure you're sharing the truth in love, because remember, Wednesday I told you, the truth without love is like surgery without anesthesia. It may be needed, but it's painful. So make sure you speak the truth in love, but do not muffle yourself because, or muzzle yourself because of how they may receive what you're saying. If it needs to be said, then say it, but just make sure you're saying it in a way that is not, it's going, it as gentle as possible, without tainting the truth, if that makes sense. Uh, that means that they're not healthy. So when someone starts to so when you hurt your mate and they start hurting you back, it means that they're not healthy. Now you may be unhealthy too, but that's not a healthy response to being hurt. So this is kind of the point that I was trying to make on Wednesday. Loving is not easy. It's not. Because the thing about love is this. When you actually love, so the world says, society says, if you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you, right? And it's accepted by everybody. But love says, when you hurt me, I'm going to love you more. Not even at the same level, but I'm going to turn the love up when you hurt me. Ain't nobody signing up for that. Not knowingly. See, most people come to marriage because they want someone to love them forever, not because they want to love someone else forever. But love says, when you hurt me, I love you more. Now, so what does that look like? That means you hurt me. And because I love you, let me go in the burning building because you're obviously in trouble. That's why you hurt me. Let me go in the burning building to find out what's going on with you, to see why you're hurting the person that you love, so that I can help you be a better mate to the person that you love, i.e., me. But that doesn't come from a selfish place. It comes from a loving place because I want you to be good. And I want you to treat the person that you love good. It just happens to be me. So if they respond in a negative way because you offended them, uh, they're not allowing you to be human. You're going to do things to offend them inevitably. And so they need to work on, and I don't like talking about they often, right? I like talking about you, but I'll say they, if they're offended by what you say, then they have to work that out. That's as far as I'll go with that. But again, when it comes to you, how do you respond when they get offended? That's why you have to be careful of who you get into relationships with. Now, nobody's perfect. Don't spend all your life looking for the perfect person that knows how to communicate perfectly, and you're going to be waiting forever. But at the same time, don't just rush into relationships and rush into loving someone when you haven't examined if they're capable, if they have the ability to love at the same level. You feel me? You want to love people when it comes to romantic relationships. You want to love someone who can at least love at the same level or is committed to getting there. They recognize I'm not there, but I'm committed to getting there, so I'm actually doing work to be better. Okay. Um, let's see. What if your spouse is keeping their heavy feelings and thoughts from you, like suicide, drugs, and abuse? Well, then that number one, that's selfish. Number two, the trust is broken, and so you guys need to see a therapist because if they're having suicidal thoughts and you don't know about it, well, number one, there's nothing you could do about it. So I guess how would you know that they're hiding it from you? So let me just reverse it. If you're doing that, stop. But uh, let me. I'm gonna address this. I don't know if your suicidal thoughts or someone else on here having suicidal thoughts, but I'm just gonna make a hard turn and just address that. Then I'll come back to the question. So let me say this: uh, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. How you gonna say it's temporary? Because I'm 47, and here's what I've learned about life: nothing, zero, nothing lasts forever, good or bad. Y'all remember when Harvey came to Houston? We thought it wasn't gonna never stop raining, but it's not raining right now. Nothing lasts forever, and so if at 20 or 30 or 40, let's say you're 30, and you take your life because of what 30 is like or the last 30 years, you don't know what 35 is going to be like. You don't know what 40 is going to be like. And the thing is this, Your life is your responsibility. You're the one that can make it great. So however it's been, it don't have to be that way. You need to break free from the prison of pleasing people and learn how to love you, connect with God so that you can understand your value. You wouldn't be trying to take your life. And I'm not saying you, whoever the person that asked the question. I'm saying you, whoever's having suicidal thoughts in general. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and you don't even understand the ramifications of that and whose lives are affected by that. So just if you're having those kind of thoughts, because it is a serious thing, call somebody, talk to somebody. There's a crisis hotline. You can talk to them. You can call our office and talk to us. Um, but don't just let those thoughts resonate in your mind and you just kind of, you know, deal with it on your own. We're not designed to do life alone. Okay, so now let me get back to the rest of the question. Um, so what if they're keeping their heavy thoughts and feelings, um, things away from you? So you got to ask yourself, why are they hiding? What are they hiding from? Where's the shame? Shame makes you hide, right? Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. So, what is it that they're hiding from? At some level, they don't feel like you would accept them. But again, that's not about you, that's about them. Okay. If you're hiding, that's a you issue. That's not a them issue. Okay. So, but the trust, that's going to shake the trust of the relationship if if things are hidden, and then why would someone want to be in a relationship where you can't express yourself, right? That's not what you want to be in. um let's see. Good questions. Yeah, that's some good stuff. I um i appreciate you guys interacting. Wow, it's been 50 minutes already, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring this to a close because I'm not trying to keep your time all day. And I've been in therapy since 10 this morning, and I'm tired. But I really wanted to do this for you guys. And I think what I'm going to do, honestly, I'm really thinking about making this weekly also. So having the weekly webinars on Wednesdays, they're free, right? So go to cliftonbrantley.com if you want to sign up for the webinars. And then on Fridays, I think I'm going to do a follow-up Q&A for the stuff that you may not have gotten an answer to on Wednesday. And next week, Wednesday, I believe is going to be really impactful. I think we're going to go really deep when we're talking about love and being able to recognize it and being able uh, to we're going to talk about how you became the person that you are to believe what you believe about love. All right, we're going to unpack that. And then the third session in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about how to be a better lover. Because at the end of the day, love is all that matters. Love is enough to do everything that we humans need to do. Included in love is everything you need for a marriage to work. Because, like I said on Wednesday, love is like the house. Inside the house lives forgiveness, patience, kindness, consideration, trust. All those things are a part of love. So when you love in the appropriate way, love is absolutely enough, right? So um, you are very welcome. Can we rewatch this as well? Yes. So this will be on Facebook. That's one of the reasons why I did it, to give you guys um, more access to it, so you don't have to get a link or whatever. So if you subscribe to the channel, then you'll get a notification. You click the little bell, you get a notification when I post other videos. But when I do these live videos, you also can watch those as well. Um, and thank you, Daphne, for putting up that crisis hotline, because I don't have it memorized, and that is very helpful. Um, so I appreciate that. You're very welcome. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for trusting me with your ears. And I hope that I said something that will help you want to do life better. Because the thing that I learned And I don't want you to take this long. I don't know how old, everyone is, but for the majority of my life, I really expected other people to make my life great. But I didn't know that. I didn't really get a revelation about my life being my responsibility until I was about 40, 41. And I realized that if my life was going to be anything other than what my childhood said it should be, I was going to have to do it. It wasn't going to happen on its own, and God wasn't going to do it. God equipped me to make my life great. And now we work, I was going to say in cahoots, but yeah, you can say cahoots. Me and God work together to help make my life great. Which, can I end with this last thing? Let me end with this last thing. Um, and so, if you want to keep watching, you can. The thing that I discovered a couple of weeks ago, or I shouldn't say discovered, the conclusion I came to about my life, based on what I know about God and what I believe about Him, it is impossible for Clifton to lose. And when I thought about that, uh, I thought about, like, let's say if a female wanted to be a business owner and she didn't know what she was doing, and Oprah came and said, "Hey, you know, um, I want to mentor you. I will literally hold your hand through every step so that you'll be successful. You can call me whenever. I'm not going to give you any money, but I am absolutely going to walk you through every step to help you come up with a business plan and everything that it takes to be successful at this business." Wouldn't you let her coach you? She's guaranteeing your success. Or if you want to be an actor, and Denzel was like, "Man, look, I'm not going to put you in my movie, but I am going to hold your hand and walk you through every stage of this process from beginning to end. I'm never going to leave you. You can call me anytime. Whatever advice I got for you, I'll give it to you because I want you to be successful." Wouldn't you sign up for that? So when Denzel tell you, "Hey, I need you to read this script and have it done by Friday. Today's Tuesday. I need you to have it done by Friday." You're not gonna say, "Man, how am I gonna do that?" You're gonna get it done because you trust his track record. How much more though have I come to trust God and realize that uh, He said He'd never leave me. He said He'd never forsake me, and He loves me, and He said that He wants what's best for me. And so for me, I realize if I can put, if we can put that kind of trust in a human because of what we've seen them do on the planet, how much more can I trust God? And it made me realize, although I've heard this several times from other preachers and whatnot, I really just got it a couple of weeks ago that if 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 God is on my side, I cannot lose. It is impossible. As long as I do my part, right? God's not going to do my part. I have to do my part. But if I do that, I cannot lose. Now, a door closing I may not like that, but that doesn't mean I lose. That just means that that wasn't for me. Okay. I wanted to end that with share that with you at the end because uh, I would not be authentic if I did not share with you that the way that I believe that marriage works is with God in the middle. Why? Because marriage is God's idea. Man did not create it, God created it. Just like Android cannot tell Apple how Apple products work, right? Android can't say that this laptop that's not a MacBook, that's a TV. No, it's what Apple says it is. And it works the way Apple says it's supposed to work. And it works with Apple products, right? In the same way, Apple is not smarter than God. Apple does not design products that work better with other stuff. Neither is God going to give you a life that makes him irrelevant. You might not receive that, but I'm telling you, it's true. Okay. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for letting me, speak into your life for a little while. I'm so looking forward to next Wednesday. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be extremely powerful and impactful. Um, and so if you, again, cliftonbrantley.com, if you want to go there and sign up for the webinar, um, and it'll send you an email and you'll be in the system. So you'll get all of the emails. Also, too, when I'm updating my blog, you'll get those emails as well. Subscribe to the channel so that you can get notification when I post new videos on here because they won't all be live, right? But I'll make sure that I'm always giving you good content to help you create the life, to help you live the life you are created to live. Thank you guys, and God bless you. Just reading through some of the questions, make sure I got everything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Make sure I didn't miss any. Um, okay, yeah. I think we're good.